So now that we're level 95, we obviously need to test ourselves against Shaper. Which I've never done on this character, I don't think. I might have done it once, but I haven't done it in a long time. Let's see how we do. The knockback's actually really annoying. Seems fine so far. Seems pretty good. He just goes down instantly. Can you stack poison while he's in that phase? I've never tried to craft a quiver, I have no idea DMP. I'm very certain I cannot tank the beam. Should be able to tank melee attacks though. Yeah. What's the attack? Oh god! I fucked up. I tried to leap away, but it didn't do anything. I think he was attacking my totem and the balls were like going through him. That was weird. That was my bad. He's almost done with that phase too, man. Shit. That was definitely my fault, not the builds.
Let's find a way back.
100% my fault. So I think the main thing here is that I don't have a multiple use freeze flask. I have 1 or 2 uses on my basalt, right? Which means that if I mess up in his fight and I use the basalts and I don't have a basalt up when he hits me with like a ball or something and he freezes me, I'm just dead. So I think for this I should probably swap to like a 3-use freeze flask, or maybe even a 4-use if I can get that. Like a reduced charges use Stib Knight would be perfect. Yeah, I'm Blood Magic. Pure Fizz Chaos. It's increased, but yeah, it's still life nodes. I could also carry a Stone Golem instead of a Chaos Golem for this, since I don't really need the Fizz mitigation. I need extra regen to deal with his degen effects. Although I'm not sure it really matters that much.
Why would you do this?
More life would be the same as CI. I can actually see his health moving, which I think is pretty impressive for a non-crit, non-Ellie based build. I mean, the CI one was more, if it's changed to increased, I don't even know. What's it look like in the beta? These things have so much fucking HP. Okay, 2 phases down.
He's injured, but not for long. We need to get back.
I don't know if they just removed the nodes behind it entirely or they just changed it to increase. So I'm very certain I could do this deathless, I'm just bad. Also, I've never done it with this character before, so I'm not used to it. They removed the nodes behind it? Okay. That's fine. Quit killing my totem, please. It's definitely a lot slower if I don't have Flasks available. There's not enough enemies to refill close by, fuck. Well, alright, we'll just do the cool things. Just do this. Grab Flasks and go back. These have like a little bit less than half.
Father, it's me.
Everything short of perfection is irrelevant. Ultimate chaos.
To me,
Fuck.
Exile.
This didn't Flask that time. I thought about it. I was like, I'm gonna burst him, but he always does this face for me first. Excuse you. %20 call should be really nice for this, actually. Yeah, call's very nice for this. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. I just suck. Okay, so that was a Shaper kill. We're gonna go ahead and do a Strand example because I feel like people want to see this as your baseline map leveling thing. Same character, same basically everything. We just swap out Conk Effect for Innervate for mapping. Let's not delete that. Still Bloison Lacerate. So basically, this build is my strongest life-based build by far in 2.6, and it should get even stronger in 3.0 with the addition of more life rolls on gear available, as well as potentially more damage on the skill tree, and maybe more skill gems available. I haven't looked at them exactly which ones would work for this, but I think the chance to bleed support is going to be very useful here for the extra flat fizz. Looks like Brutality is not going to work for this build anymore. It's the one that gives more physical damage because it was changed to, instead of just saying more physical damage, to saying deal no non-physical damage or something like that. So you can't use chaos damage anymore, which kind of sucks since we're like probably got a third chaos damage from our 2 Flasks. But I don't know, the build's coming along very well. The only map mods that I dislike on this character are less recovery, 60% less recovery, because that affects your leech rate. And then other than that, any map mod other than Fizz Reflect is perfectly fine. Fizz Reflect we can't do, even with Slayer. The occasional mobs are fine. You don't even notice it. It'll trigger your Immortal Call and then you'll kill it before the Immortal Call runs out. But when it comes to doing full Fizz Reflect maps, it's not doable because we hit so fucking hard that you will like 2-shot yourself if you hit a pack. Okay, here's your maximum tooltip without Conk Effect, 229. War Chief itself, 329.5k. Pretty solid deeps right there. So let's go ahead and talk through the build. What is this character? It's Lacerate. Lacerate's awesome. It works with swords and axes. You don't have to use Starforge, you can use any sword or axe. I'll talk about all the stuff you could potentially use in a different video or in the guide itself. So the what do we want to start with? Let's start with Ascendancy, I guess. That's probably a good place to start. We are Slayer. Why Slayer? Because Slayer gets Leech. Leech effects are not removed at full life. That means that once you reach full life, the next time you take a hit, it's basically like this giant shield of life piling up over your life pool. If you take a hit when you're at full life, it'll drop you and then like basically heal you back up to full based on your maximum life leech rate, which because of Slayer, we get 10% of our maximum life leech. Sorry, we get 10% maximum life leech per second. Fuck, math is hard. You get 10% maximum life leech, right? So normally it's capped at 20%. So normally I could only leech a maximum of 2k life per second. This lets me leech up to 30%, so I get to leech 3k per second. And then we also get more maximum life leech from Hematifhagy or whatever down here, This is 3% and 5%, so you get another 8%. That allows me to leech 3,800 life per second or so. Or wait, yeah, something like that. I don't know. You leech a lot. 38% of your max life. If you were to go over here and grab this node as well, it's an additional 5% of max life leech. So that would put you all the way up to 43% of your maximum life leech per second. That is your maximum life leech rate, which means that I would be healing for, I want to guess, around like a little bit less than 4k per second if I've hit anything recently, because that's how fast I'm leeching. That's ridiculous. That's effectively Vol Pact, but without Vol Pact, so you still have all your life regen. You don't have to worry about traveling way the fuck over here for this stupid node. You don't need it, it's fine. Other benefits, we get Overkill Leech, we get Attack Damage Leech, we get Two-Handed Damage, we get Cannot Be Stunned while leeching, very important, which is all the time. As soon as you hit the first pack, you're leeching for the rest of the map. And then you're also immune to bleeding while leeching, which frees up a Flask slot. And that's awesome. Then you go up this way for Two-Handed Damage, Attack Speed, Bane of Legends, which is just stupid. It's 20% cull, normal cull is 10%, so you get to cull Shaper at 20%, you cull Guardians at 20%, you cull every rare, every map boss, even players at 20% of their life. They just instantly die. You also get 20 seconds of Onslaught, which is like, a normal strand map for me is like a minute and a half, 2 minutes maybe, so this is 20 seconds of that if you kill a rare or unique, which is just stupid. Then you get more attack speed, 2-handed damage, and then this thing gives you 50% reduced reflected physical damage taken, which is why reflect rares don't mean anything to us. And you also get 20% more damage if you've killed recently, which is, again, most of the map. Then you also get 15% AoE, which is, I mean, sure. So the way I look at this class is strictly better than Berserker, right? Berserker gets 40% more damage with 10% increased damage taken. We get 20% more damage if you've killed recently, and 20% cull. 20% cull means they die at 20%, which means you have to deal 20% less damage to kill them. This is effectively 20% more plus 20% more, without any of the negative side effects of being a Berserker, so that's great. Skill tree is a lot of life and a lot of damage, that's about it. So you go through the attack speed nodes because they're more efficient than the damage nodes, go through the life nodes here, attack speed, dex, movement penalties, whatever, life, 1% life regen with melee range and strength, melee damage. We come through the two-handed nodes for more damage, attack speed, damage, strength, life regen. If you come up through this way, you get 10 additional dex. If you don't need the dex, you can come down through the strength nodes for a little bit of extra damage. Each 5 strength is 1% melee physical damage, so if you go this way, you get 2% melee physical damage. If you need the dex, you go this way. I don't actually think I need the dex, so let's check that. Yeah, I don't need the dex, so we're gonna go this way. I used to need the dex, I don't anymore. So now I get a little bit more damage and a little bit more life. I actually gained about 20 flat life from that. Because each 2 points of strength is 1 life. Great. Then you come down here, grab more two-handed damage nodes. This also works as a leveling tree. If you feel the need to level this character, just level it as a two-handed character with any type of weapon and any two-handed melee skill. You'll be fine. Then you come over here for the life leech. Jewel sockets I would grab after everything else, but I have the jewel socket here. I have life here, blood magic, also very nice while leveling. If you go this exact route while leveling, you'll be fine, because you have life leech here, so once you go blood magic, you just don't have to worry about mana pool anymore, and you're fine. Why do we go blood magic on this character? One, because there are 0 auras that affect Starforge well. It doesn't allow you to deal elemental damage, so like wrath, hatred, anger, all the heralds do nothing for us. You can't do LE damage, so it's just useless. The only aura that actually works is haste, and it's not that important. It's a little bit of extra attack and cast speed, but I'd rather just have the, what is this, 35% increased max life, which is just a huge amount of life. And then we go for the sword nodes because we are using Starforge. If you're playing the axe version, just take the axe nodes instead. You can lacerate with axe or sword. So it's up to you. I went sword because I like swords better, and Starforge is awesome. Then you get life, you get jewel socket, you get life, max fire res, resolute technique so you don't miss. If you're leveling, I would get resolute technique before you pick up axe or sword nodes. I would just go from blood magic directly to RT, and then just take life nodes afterwards. And then you go this way into the area damage stuff up in Templar, which gives you some stats as well. You get int here, and some area damage, and then you can choose whichever you want. You can go either down here for the melee damage and life nodes, or you can go to the Scion life wheel for all the life nodes, and then berserking for attack speed, jewel socket, life up here, and jewel socket. All of my jewels are 7% max life plus 3 damage mods. They're very expensive to buy like that. If you cannot afford that, go for 2 damage property and life. Those should be like 10 to 30C depending on the rolls and what league you're in, or less if you craft them yourself. So here's one of mine. Life, attack speed, damage, damage. 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 You noticing a theme here? Life, damage, damage, damage. Life, attack speed, damage. So this one balances out the lack of attack speed on that one. And this one we have life, damage, damage, damage. Amazing. We did it. That's all the gears and shit. Here's the, or all the skill tree, whatever. Your gear, the only, like there are no required items for this build, per se. The main thing you want for endgame, though, you want Starforge, you want Devotos, and you want a Void Heart, preferably a Legacy if you can get it. Non-Legacy works just fine. It's just that your poison damage will be less reliable, so your single target is a little bit worse. Not that important. Like, non-Legacy works just fine. Everything else is rare, so you have a rare chest, you have rare gloves, you have a rare belt, you have rare boots, right? And then you have a Carnage Heart for your amulet. This is the non-Legacy Carnage Heart. It was actually buffed very, very strongly. The Legacy version has negative 25% life and negative 25% ES, and less all attributes and less damage while leeching. It's just shit. Don't get the don't get Legacy. Get non-Legacy. This is a non-Legacy version. It's decently well rolled, but this fixes a lot of your attribute issues. This one gives me 56 int and 56 dex, which is great. And it gives you damage while leeching and life leech and all res, all of which we want. The only annoying part about this is it doesn't have life on it, and it has extra gore. Extra gore just causes lag. So your Starforge priorities, you want the fizz damage to be as high as possible. We're focusing mostly on like damage per hit from the weapon itself, because this range is like, I think it only goes like, it's 4 to 8% attack speed, right? No, 5 to 8% attack speed. So attack speed, not so important, but the fizz damage roll goes from 400 to 500, which is massive. You want it to be as high as possible, and you also want higher life roll. It goes 90 to 100. Life is great, doesn't matter that much. It's a small range compared to the fizz damage. Just go for fizz damage. Mine is 719 DPS. I think the range is like 640 to 730, I think. Something like that. Your Devotos for the attack speed, chaos res, dex, movement speed, all of those things we want. Again, annoying part, doesn't have life on it. You could just use a rare helm with life res stats on it if you need it. I use this because it gives me attack speed and chaos res, both of which I want. I also need the dex. Carnage Heart, rolls that you want to focus on are the all attributes and the resist. The life leech per second is not that important because we have so much other leech on the tree that it doesn't matter. So you hit something, you're going to be at your life leech cap, so don't worry about that. Just go for the attributes and the all res. Your chest piece, you want a rare chest or a Belly of the Beast. Belly of the Beast actually gives me more life than this by a huge amount. It should put me at like, I think 8.6k if I put on a 40% belly, but the issue is I didn't get enough resist out of it, so I went for a resistance strength life chest. It's a very nice chest, by the way. It has kind of shit armor, but that doesn't matter because armor is useless in the current patch anyways, so just go for resistances, life, and strength. Strength is more life, and melee physical damage. Great. On your Void Heart, look for the highest percent chance to bleed and percent chance to poison you can get if you're using a non-legacy. If you're using a legacy, obviously those are always 100%, so just go for the life roll. Life range is, I think, 20 to 30, it's not that important. Belt. You want either a leather belt or a rustic belt. Rustic sash, sorry. Rustic is more DPS. Doesn't matter that much though, just go for as much life as you can get and as much resistances as you can get. And if you want to use a rustic sash, that's great. Remember that weapon elemental damage does nothing for this build, so don't go for that. Just go for life, resist, strength, fizz damage if you're using a rustic. It's fine. Gloves, you're going to want a rare with as much life as you can get on it. Added fizz to attacks is nice. Leech is nice. These are actually a mirror pair of gloves on my mirror thread. They are Legacy Insanity, more attack and cast speed for my leap slam. Definitely not needed. It's purely a quality of life, so it makes my leap slam faster. You don't need that, it just makes you faster, so that's great. This belt is also actually in my mirror thread. It's an old mirror belt, all old T1s. It's a very nice belt. I use it because I wanted the chaos res. I didn't need the chaos res, I just wanted the chaos res. And then boots, you want rare boots with life, stats, resist, whatever you want. The move speed actually doesn't matter because we use leap slam to move around. We don't run, so you don't need move speed on your boots for this build. You can get it if you want to, but it doesn't matter. Other ring, you have one ring slot, one rare ring available. The most DPS you can get is a steel ring. This is actually not blessed correctly, so I'm going to do that now. But the highest DPS you can get out of a steel ring is T1 flat fizz with T1 life and T1 strength. and then you want to have added chaos to attacks crafted onto it, which adds a little bit extra chaos damage to your attacks. It's a very small amount though, as you can see. It's 24 to 66 from just this ring, I believe. Oh, no, I have 3 to 8 chaos from this. Yeah, so I have 3 to 8 chaos, and this puts it up to 24 to 66. So I'm actually getting 21 to 58 chaos damage from that craft. Not enough to actually matter, so don't worry about that much. You could craft percent armor as a prefix, percent evasion, whatever you want. But go for the phys damage, the life, and then resistance stats wherever you need. I have int on my boots. You could get int on the ring just as easily and swap those out. I don't actually know why I have int here, but I do. Okay, so enchantments. Best in slot enchantment for your gloves. Commandment of Fury, no question. This is an enchant that throws 10 projectiles out in front of you, and each one of them does 2.6 to 5.5k phys damage. If I flask up, it does 35k DPS. If I have full everything, it does like 70k DPS. It's kind of stupid. But it throws like a spiral of it in front of you, and it throws 10 projectiles. If you're standing inside of something, you can hit them with all 10 projectiles. It does shotgun, the old shotgun. It's kind of stupid. Boot enchant. I have life leech. The regen enchant is just as good, if not better actually, because like your leech is not that important. You have leech cap as soon as you hit anything, so I think the regen is actually stronger. You could also go for attack and cast speed if you've killed recently. Added chaos if you've taken a crit recently is probably not a reliable source of damage, so I would recommend attack and cast speed or regen, one of those two, whichever you prefer, whether it's go faster or be tankier. Choose between those two. The leech one I don't think I should keep. Helm enchant. For me, I have Lacerate AoE. The only other option is Lacerate damage, because the third enchant is Lacerate chance to crit, and because we are Resolute Technique, that does nothing, so either go for AoE or go for damage. It's your choice. Damage is obviously higher DPS, AoE is better quality of life. And then we got the Flasks. So your Flasks, we are using the core damage Flasks are these 3. Aziri's Promise gives you Fizz damage as extra chaos, so normally I would have 5 to 10k Fizz. If I use Aziri's, it gives me 1k to 2.6k chaos. It's pretty big. And then our other damage flask is Lion's Roar. This gives you 35%, up to 35% more melee physical damage, which is a multiplier. It just straight multiplies this by 0.35, right? So I gain 18k DPS or so off one flask. Stupid. And then Sin's Rebirth gives you Unholy Might. Unholy Might is a buff that gives you extra chaos based on your fizz. It's actually 30% of your physical damage added as chaos. So that flask will give me 1.5 to 3k, and with Aziri's it goes up to 2.7 to 5.8. With this it goes up to 106k in town, without frenzies, without blood rage, without totem down, any of that shit. It's just 106k. With totem 126, with blood rage 136. Like it spikes pretty high. And that's without conk effect, of course. I'll have full DPS tooltips in the guide below this video. Then we go to our gem links. So your main links in order of priority: Lacerate, Multi-Strike, melee physical damage on full life, faster attacks, and Innervate. So this lets you hit things, because it's Lacerate, this lets you hit things really goddamn fast. This means you deal more damage, this means you deal more damage while on full life. And in 2.6 it was patched so that if you regen faster than you degen, even if it doesn't say you're at exactly full life, this buff is applied. So with Blood Rage on and with Slayer Leech active, we are leeching fast enough that it is always full life. As long as we don't get chunked, you'll be at full life. So you always get this buff. And faster attacks, quality of life. Lacerate feels like ass without, like this is without any attack speed modifiers. It feels really bad. If I put in Multi-Strike, it feels great. If I put in faster attacks on top of that, it feels amazing. So try to prioritize that as your 5th link. And then when you get to your 6th link, you have a choice of 3 different slots here. You can use Innervate, which allows you to shock enemies. Because your fizz damage can shock, you have 15% chance to shock with Innervate. Shock means they take 50% increased damage, which is a 1.5 times more multiplier, 50% more damage. You deal 50% more damage with the hit, and then your poison and your bleed also get 50% more damage, which is just stupid. So this is really nice. If the enemies are immune to shock, you can swap in Conk Effect, which is 54% more area damage. That double dips on poison and bleed. That'll be going away in 3.0, but it'll still be 54% more damage, which is awesome. The only annoying part is you get less AoE, so I use this for Shaper, Guardians, hard bosses, whatever. If you don't like Innervate, if you don't like Conk Effect, you can use increased AoE for the maximum AoE with a little bit extra damage. Doesn't matter. When we get the next league, new skill gems, I think this would be Maim or Brutality or Chance to Bleed are good options here. I'm not sure which one is optimal yet, as I haven't played the beta and I haven't tested them out, so let me know if you have. But there's your main 6 link. Your War Chief setup, which is a massive chunk of damage here, is Ancestral War Chief, melee damage on full life. This is actually based off of your life, not the totems, so as long as you're at full life or leeching fast enough to be at full life, you will get this buff on your totem. And then you have Conk Effect, more damage, faster attacks because you can't use multi-strike. Then you have melee physical damage and Bloodlust. So this is a more multiplier, this is a more multiplier, this is a more multiplier, and this is a more multiplier. But it only works against bleeding enemies, Demi. So like, how do you get bleed? Well, we have Voidheart and we're hitting the boss with our sword. So they always are bleeding, unless they're immune to bleed. If they are immune to bleed, you can take this out and just put in like, I don't know, Fortify, Culling... No, you don't use Culling Strike because we have 20% call. I would put Fortify in here, honestly, if I couldn't use Bloodlust because they're immune to bleed. But yeah, the totem has more multipliers than we do, so it does more damage than we do, which is just funny. Other links, you have your movement skill in your gloves if you have Insanity gloves. I have Leap Slam, faster attacks, Fortify, and then the last link, if you want to, is Endurance Charge on melee stun. This is what gives me endurances in maps. Every time I jump onto a pack, I usually stun the enemy, which means I get an Endurance Charge, which feeds my Immortal Call setup, which is over here. Casting damage taken, Immortal Call. This gives you Fizz immunity for I think about 2.5–3 seconds or so, if you have 3 endurances when it procs, which is very nice. And then we also have Summon Chaos Golem, an additional 4% Fizz reduction. You could use a Flame Golem, you could use a Stone Golem, you could use a Lightning Golem. Basically any golem that isn't Ice Golem is good in this slot. Just pick whatever you prefer. I like the Fizz mitigation. Up to you. They also have an Enfeeble here. If I take a big hit, they get enfeebled, so they deal less damage, and they have less chance to hit. We actually have a decent amount of armor and evasion. Not decent. We have a shitty amount of evasion. We have an okay amount of armor with our Flasks up. But yeah, that's optional as well. You can swap this to Vulnerability. You can put this in Temp Chains, whatever curse you prefer. If you have a +1 curse Carnage Heart, you could put Vulnerability and Enfeeble, or Vulnerability and Temp Chains. Totally up to you. And then I have my random Quality of Life Helm links. I'm using Blood Rage, which is linked to a level 4 Enhance. That gives it 24% increased quality. Blood Rage quality gives it attack speed, so 23% quality gives you 20% attack speed, right? If you give it Enhance, it now gives you 26% increased attack speed, so that's like 6% increased attack speed, which is a skill point and a half on the tree. It's pretty good. And I also have that link to faster casting and Portal. Portal also gets the enhanced quality, so Portal gets 60% goes up to 132% cast speed, so a little bit of quality of life for when you want to get the fuck out of your map. It doesn't matter that much. You don't need this link, you don't need this link, you don't need this link. You have a 3 link to play with, but it's just quality of life. That's what I prefer to use. Up to you. And then Flasks. Did I talk about Flasks? I didn't talk about 3 of them, not all of them. These are your damage Flasks. I didn't mention these 2. You need a Freeze Flask. Because you are Slayer, you're immune to bleed, you're immune to stuns. You're not immune to freeze. So this is the only Flask that you need, elemental status wise, and I'm using it on a Basalt Flask with Reduced Charges Used. If you don't have the Reduced Charges Used roll, you only get 1 use out of your Basalt. So you need at least 23% out of 20, it's 20 to 25 on the roll. Go for at least 23 and you'll get 2 uses out of it. If you don't have a 2-use Basalt Flask with Remove Freeze, just use any other Flask with Remove Freeze on it. You could use a Jade Flask, you could use any Elemental Flask. Granite Flask, I guess. No, we have a Granite Flask. I would use an Elemental Flask or a Basalt, personally. Or a Consecrated Ground Flask if you really want a little bit extra regen. And your last Flask, this is optional. I have a Taste of Hate. The extra physical damage, or sorry, the physical damage is extra cold, does nothing because we are Starforge. But the 30% of physical damage taken as cold damage, that's good. So what that does is it converts, say you take 100 fizz damage. If you take a hit with this active, 30% of that physical damage is converted into cold, so you would take 70 fizz, 30 cold, right? That cold damage then has to go against your cold resist, well, which would be 81% with taste up. So you would only take 19% of that 30, which is like 5.7. So you would then take 5.7 cold damage plus 70 total fizz damage. So you would actually only take 75.7 damage total out of the 100 damage that was coming in. Which means you would only take, or sorry, it's basically 24% fizz mitigation on a Flask, which is better than a Basalt Flask. Basalt's only 20. Nice flask to have. Definitely not needed. This is a legacy version. If you have a non-legacy, sure. Just if you have a non-legacy, it's 20%, so that would be like 16% fizz mitigation or something like that. I don't know. It's still a good flask. If you don't want to use this, you could use a remove shock flask, like an elemental remove shock flask. Or if you have perfectly balanced resistances, you could use a wise oak for the less damage taken from elemental sources of which you have the lowest resistance, uncapped, whatever. I don't know. It's up to you. It doesn't matter. Is there anything else I need to talk about? Things this build has done. All Guardians, Shaper, Uber Etziri. Uber Labyrinth is very fucking easy on this character because Slayer Leech heals you while you're standing in traps, which is great. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else to say. I hope you guys enjoy this build. It should be even stronger in 3.0. It's very strong in 2.6. If you have any other questions about my gear, I'll have everything in the forum guide below. I'll put in as much more information as I can in there. But that will be Demi out. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in Raid Class.